Congressman Filner, thank you so much for joining us. And first of all, in the wake of this tragedy, how are you doing and how is your staff doing?
Well, we're doing very well. Most of us knew Gabby and her staff. Our first priority, of course, is praying for her full recovery. We both represent districts that border Mexico. She's a little to the east of me, and I'm in San Diego, California. So we worked on many things together. She's an incredibly nice person, an incredibly committed person, and one who we're just hoping is able to recover.
You know, I was speaking with Congressman Raul Grijalva the other day, your fellow Democrat who, like Gabby Giffords, is from Arizona, and he said that within hours of the shooting, there were comments on websites from people saying, well, we need to get Grijalva next, or we need to get the shooter in a room with Grijalva for 30 minutes. And you said the other day that tensions have escalated to the point that a group of people threatened you with assassination on election night. What happened?
Well, like many of us across the country, including Gabby, including Raul Grijalva, we had, I'll just lump them together as Tea Party opponents, people who went really beyond the bounds of political discourse. They shouted us down in debates on election night in San Diego. About 100 of supporters of my opponents surrounded me and I think would have physically beaten me up if the police had not intervened. And the next day, the blogs were, well, politics doesn't work, clearly, in Filner's case. We had the best candidate, we had the best issues, but somehow he must have defrauded us. So we have to escalate this. It's violence from now on. And they had pictures of AK-47s and snipers, and it said, we got to get Filner. He won this election by defraud. And this is going out over the country. In fact, the same bloggers I noticed today said, hey, this begins the revolution. We got Giffords, now we're going after others next.
At the same time, there are some Tea Party leaders who have come out and condemned this discussion about angry rhetoric in pretty uncertain terms, saying that there is no indication that Jared Loughner was motivated by the Tea Party or any other political group to commit the kind of violence that he did, and to bring this discussion up at this time when we're talking about this shooter is to accuse the Tea Party or other conservative groups of being responsible for this.
Well, that in itself is a political statement, because they are not taking responsibility for any of the violent rhetoric that they had during the campaign. I mean, Miss Palin would say, we can't retreat, we have to reload. You know about the 20 targeted figures with crosshairs. By saying it was a crazy individual, that relieves them of the responsibility. Sure, he was crazy, but crazy people are especially vulnerable to the kind of hate rhetoric, the delegitimizing of our government officials, the rhetoric that said we have to reload and let's eliminate these people. We were not opponents, we were demons and we were enemies. And I will tell you that in a society, we are not isolated. None of us is isolated. Yes, that guy may be acted alone, but he's influenced, he's empowered, he's legitimized by those who are talking in this way, and also by the talk shows that are on and on and on all day that say, hey, these people aren't not just Democrats, they're socialists, the government is trying to take everything from you. We got to go back and get them. And Justice Holmes said about 50 years ago, you cannot cry fire in a crowded theater. That is, there are some limits on free speech given the circumstances. And I would say to Sarah Palin and the Tea Party, you cannot yell, ready, aim, fire when there's a crowded political situation. We all have to take responsibility for our remarks. I do, the Tea Party does, every elected official, every talk show person. These words have consequences, and they especially have consequences on unstable people like apparently this shooter was.
So do you feel concerned about your personal safety or the safety of your staff?
I always have. I mean, again, we have been threatened. I've served in local office, on a school board, and a city council before Congress, and we receive threats all the time, and the same in Congress. They heightened in this election. And most of us are very fatalistic about it. We understand that these threats and crazy people are around. But we know the genius of American democracy is face-to-face contact with our constituents and being out there so they literally can touch you. And I don't think we're going to let this influence that. But I think we all go around with the awareness that this is possible, maybe even inevitable, and we have to work together, all of us. I'm talking about myself and everybody else, that we take a deep breath, lower the rhetoric, make a real measured determination of what our words can mean, and act like the other person is a respected person, and that we honor his or her opinions, and we're going to talk it out together and not resort to violence.
Your fellow members of Congress are responding by proposing all types of legislation, from renewing the assault weapons ban to providing more security for members. What do you think of some of the legislation that's being proposed?
Well, you know, most of us do not want to limit our ability to interact with the public. So, you know, kinds of things that would keep us away from that, we would not support. Clearly, when you have a violent environment and people like this shooter who are crazy, they're easy. Why should a guy who is deranged, by the way, have access to a semi-automatic weapon? We have to control that. Every police officer, every sheriff I've ever talked to says, you know, these automatic or semi-automatic weapons are not necessary for hunting or sportsman kind of thing, or even self-defense. They're for killing lots of people. And we ought to go back to the ban on those weapons. And, you know, we ought to have a more formal procedure where our local police know where we are. But none of us, I think, wants to get into a situation when we're protected so much that we can't interact with our people. We have a real responsibility, though, to measure what our words mean and how they're going to be taken.
Well, I'm sure gun control is a matter that's going to be up for debate for weeks to come. So, Congressman Bob Filner of California, thank you so much for joining us today to discuss this tragedy.
Thanks so much, Nancy.